Yes, it is me, Future Man, man of the future. Okay, enough of that.
Well, okay, fine. No Future Man, everyone. The dog's taking the glasses. Why are you cheering? He's a funny character. You know what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Well, anyway, with
0.
days left until the release of Cyberpunk, or at least we think so, we're here to satisfy or power up your anticipation with a bunch of different cyberpunk media to set your optical analyzers on. This list will contain some well-known titles and also some hidden gems, and will cover books, movies, video games, and other media. Now let's get on with it. Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is a multimedia franchise originally beginning as a manga and has since been developed into several incredibly popular TV shows, movies, and even a live-action big-budget Hollywood movie starring Scarlett Johansson, which is good for some people. Some people didn't like it. I personally thought it was pretty good. It definitely can't beat the original film, but I thought that the bad guy depicted in the live-action adaptation was perhaps even better than the bad guy in the original movie. I recommend that you check them both out. Psychopaths. Psychopaths is a Japanese multimedia franchise which started as an anime and revolves around a police force that tackles on criminals using devices that analyze the risk of stress that they are currently facing, where they would commit violent crimes. This is set in a virtually utopian society where crime rates have gone down to 99%, and these are the stories that follow the 1%. This is a fantastic series following with a strong female lead and has been made into at least 3 anime adaptations as well as a movie and a video game for the PlayStation 4. This is a really fun series. I highly recommend you check it out. Neuromancer by William Gibson. Neuromancer is a series of science fiction cyberpunk novels from the 80s that's won the Nebula Award, Philip K. Dick Award, and the Hugo Award. These books follow Henry Case, a washed-up computer hacker who is hired for one last job, which brings him against a powerful artificial intelligence. Now, this series is reported to be highly influential to the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 video game. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The novel by Philip K. Dick. This story would later go on to become the incredibly influential cult film Blade Runner, as well as the widely successful and very popular sequel Blade Runner 2044. This novel is set in a post-apocalyptic San Francisco where life has been greatly damaged by a nuclear global war, leaving most animal species highly endangered or extinct, and thus replaced with mechanical version replicas of animals. Now, the main plot follows Rick Deckard. He's a bounty hunter who is tasked with retiring, aka killing, 6 escaped androids. This is a really fun read. Highly recommend it. The novel itself doesn't appear to have the extreme grittiness that the movies depict, but it was still highly great to read nonetheless. Metropolitan, comic by Warren Ellis, designed by Derek Robertson. Now, Metropolitan is sort of like an adult version of Futurama, or at least even more adult, or an R-rated version. This follows a gonzo journalist, Spider Jerusalem, who dedicates himself to fighting the corruption and the abuse of power of United States presidents. Him and his filthy assistants strive to keep the world from turning more dystopian than it already is while dealing with the struggles of fame and power brought about by his famous articles. Battle Angel Alita. Battle Angel Alita is a manga, anime, and big-budget live-action American movie, which was directed by Robert Rodriguez and produced by James Cameron. And the original series is created by Yukito Kishiro and originally published in Shueisha's Business Jump magazine. This is set in a post-apocalyptic future that focuses on Alita, a female cyborg who's lost all of her memories and is found in a junkyard by a cybernetics doctor who rebuilds her and takes care of her. She discovers that there's one thing that she remembers, the legendary cyborg martial art of Panzerkunst, which leads her to become a hunter warrior, or a bounty hunter. She attempts to trace back her past and the characters whose lives she has impacted on her journey. This is several manga series and several anime, several video games, although they may be a bit hard to find as some of them haven't really came out in a long time, but the most recent adaptation is Alita Battle Angel from 2019, which I thought was probably one of the best films of the year, and I would love to see a sequel in the future. Observer. Observer is a video game, first-person, standalone horror game where you play as an observer, a person who investigates murders and crime scenes by plugging himself, his own consciousness, into the memories of the person who had died. So you have to bear observation to the person's final moments as they would have been murdered in order to solve their case. This is such a fascinating concept, very David Cronenberg inspired. It's a great horror game from Poland, although it's dubbed in English, and pretty good dub as well. I highly recommend this, very much so hidden gem. Definitely if you're a fan of horror, definitely if you're a fan of horror sci-fi, if you're a fan of the Dead Space series, or maybe something a little bit like Blade Runner, I think that Observer is definitely a fantastic game to get your creep factor on. Deus Ex. Deus Ex is a series of role-playing video games. The first original games were developed by Ion Storm, which subsequently the other entries were developed by Eidos Montreal, following Ion Storm's closure. This series, set in the 21st century, focuses on conflict between the secretive factions who wish to control the world by proxy and the effects of the transhumanistic attitudes and technologies in a dystopian future, featuring references to real-world conspiracy theories. There's 6 titles in the series, with the last title, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, released for PlayStation 3 and other consoles in 2016. This is a great sort of open world series of adventure games that is hardcore cyberpunk, and a lot of you probably know this series already, and I think it's a fantastic series. It has similar elements to, say, The Witcher, or Mass Effect, where you speak to people and you can select different choices on what to say, and that will affect your outcomes. I think it's a great series, and I highly recommend it. And last but not least, we have, of course, the original Cyberpunk role-playing game. We'll also be talking about Cyberpunk Red, which is a new board game that was released last year that we'll also be discussing. Now, Cyberpunk, of course, you probably know the concept of the game already, is set within its own fictional timeline, which splits off from the real world in 1990. This is the sort of conglomerate of the quintessential cyberpunk motives, sort of cultures, sort of ideologies. This is a game where you can play as characters that could either be controlling mega corporations that rule the world or are trying to fight it themselves. Food blights have caused disastrous famines, and the Middle East is a radioactive desert. Essentially, we take the concept of all of the evils of mankind, and we have no morals existing, very little morals prevail, and this is what we get in the aftermath. So Cyberpunk, the board game, is very interesting. Regarding character creation, it sort of works out to be a little bit like, you know, a 1980s crazy action film or 1990s big budget sci-fi film. The players live by 3 tenets: style over substance, attitude is everything, and always take it to the edge. And number 4 is break the rules. Akira. Akira is a 1988 Japanese anime, which is based on the 1982 manga of the same name. When it originally came out, it was the most expensive anime film at the time, set in the futuristic and dystopian world of 2019. Akira tells the story of Shotaro Kaneda, who was the leader of a bike gang whose childhood friend, Tetsuo Shima, acquires incredible telekinetic abilities after a motorcycle accident, eventually threatening an entire military complex amidst chaos and rebellion in the sprawling futuristic metropolis of Neo-Tokyo. This film garnered an international cult following after various theatrical and VHS releases, eventually earning over $80 million worldwide in home video sales. It's regarded by critics as one of the greatest animated and science fiction films ever made, as well as a landmark in Japanese animation. The most recent addition to Akira that I have personally seen is a 4K remaster that has actually been on in the cinemas and most certainly will be coming out on DVD or Blu-ray sometime soon. Neon Chrome. Neon Chrome is a cyberpunk-themed twin-stick shooter game played down from a top perspective, developed by 10 Tons. The player takes control of remote-controlled human clones and is tasked with eliminating the Overseer to stop their oppressive regime on a dystopic society. This is an interesting game because it actually features procedurally generated levels with destructible environments. It's definitely a neat little game, great for multiplayer. Dex. Dex is a 2D side-scrolling platform video game based on exploration and non-linear gameplay. A lot of conversations, a lot of quests, and for any players or quests completed or any characters, bad guys killed, you get experience points which can be invested into new cybernetic hardware or new weapons or hacking or conversations or lockpicking. And the story follows Dex, a young woman living in Harbour Prime. Harbour Prime is a city controlled by corporations that are integrated into a secret authority known as the Complex. And to spoil too much wouldn't be very fun at all, wouldn't it? This is a pretty fun game. It's quite short. It's you could finish it easily within a day. That probably is either good if you want to just play a short cyberpunk game, but I personally found it to be a bit too short for my taste. I wish that they could have extended the story a lot more, especially seeing as this is a 2D video game. You know, you could have put so much more story and lore and locations in. But hopefully they maybe release a sequel or something set within the Dex world in the future. Well, this has been the list, everyone. I hope these titles will be enough to satisfy your cravings for the next 3 days. Oh look! Ooh, I have my glasses. I am Future Man, and I am here to say